This is where projects come to life. Our showrooms are designed to inspire with the latest products from top brands, curated in an inviting, hands-on environment, and a team of industry experts to support your project. We'll be there to make sure everything goes as planned, from product selection to delivery coordination. At Ferguson Bath, Kitchen and Lighting Gallery, your project is our priority.
Discover great brands like Electrolux at your local Ferguson showroom.
The living room is where you make life's most beautiful memories. But your sofa shouldn't be the one remembering them. The new life-resistant, high-performance furniture collection from Ashley is designed to withstand all the spills, slip-ups, and muddy paws that come with the best parts of life. Ashley high-performance sofas and recliners are soft, on-trend, and easy to clean. Shop the high-performance furniture in-store or online at ashley.com. Ashley, for the love of home.
I'm your host, Annie Bowles, and this is News du Jour.
When did you first know you wanted to be a mom?
Well, I didn't know that I wanted to be a mom until I was one. Growing up, I just never really thought about it. Didn't know if I wanted kids or not. I was never that person that had to have 10 kids or anything. And then I unexpectedly got pregnant when I was 18. And I was like, what am I going to do? I don't know how to be a mom.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do. But it actually came very naturally to me, and it was the best thing. It has been the best thing I've ever done. So I didn't know until my daughter Peyton was born. I was with my ex from high school until my daughter was about 4. And then we split. We're on great terms, good friends, everything's all gravy there. But met my husband when Peyton was 4, turning 5, and things moved really fast with us. We were head over heels, all the butterflies. It was one of those things where when you meet, you just instantly know that you're going to be with that person forever. One of my soulmates, for sure. So when we first started dating, we, talked about how many kids do you want? And he was 30, I was 24 at the time. And I was like, I would love to have more kids. I love being a mom. Peyton's the best. So however many kids you want, I'm down with that. If you want to have 1, cool. If you want to have 5, let's do it. I'm not driving a minivan, but we can do it. So we got married in 2019 and I was actively tracking before we got married, so then I would know, ahead of time, okay, this is when my cycle is, just to have that knowledge, am I ovulating? I think it's very important to know your body and be in tune with that. So I was ahead of time tracking that before we got married in August of 2019.
Okay. So when did you hit a point where you said, this isn't working, we're tracking things, we're trying, we need some help?
Oh, man. Okay, so in the beginning, it's all fun and games, and it's spontaneous, and you're having fun. And about 6 months in is when I was like, this isn't fun anymore. I'm not putting on any more lingerie, and this is not fun. It's no longer spontaneous. I will not lie, because I had my daughter previously, I expected to be pregnant immediately, in September. In October, I was the one planning the announcement to my family for Christmas. So that like came and went, and I went in just for my, regular appointment with my doctor, and I was kind of telling her what was going on, and it had only been maybe 6 to 8 months at this time of us trying. And she had told me it normally takes about a year, for women to get pregnant. That's normal. And she gave me the normal advice of like, for sure, track all of your stuff and have a really good lifestyle, just eat well and moderate exercise, which I felt like I was kind of already doing. Try not to stress, things like that. But she also did tell me that she was going to send in, an analysis for my husband. So he can go in and just get checked up too, which I think is so important. Not only is it us, it takes two. So he went in and his analysis came back slightly abnormal. Like the numbers were here and he was just right below the bar. I think they wanted 20 million sperm and he was at 19. Luckily they were swimming, maybe not very strongly, so we were just kind of a little bit off the grid. So with that, she went ahead and referred us to our first fertility clinic, OU, just because it can take a while to get in. I think when I called, our consultation appointment wasn't for like another 3 months.
Oh my God.
I know. And in that time, we were like, oh my gosh, that's another 3 months of like, trying, waiting for answers and, all of that. In the meantime, he went ahead and saw a urologist in the city who didn't specialize in reproduction or anything like that, but he put him on Clomid, which I didn't even know men could take. So that was news to me. Put him on Clomid, and Charles was on Clomid for a long time. When we first had our appointment with OU, we did kind of the same test. We did lots of blood work, and they did a transvaginal ultrasound on me to make sure my uterus is okay. They saw my ovaries. That was the first time I'd ever seen anything from, the inside. It's actually very cool and really beautiful. I had no idea what I was looking at, but really cool. So did all of that, and they did another analysis on him at that time. Well, the Clomid had kicked in, and his numbers jumped from 19 million to 43. His motility was awesome. His morphology, which is the shape, was awesome. So I'm like, sweet, like we're in business. And so the doctor was like, I don't know why this isn't working. You've had a baby before. Everything's looking good. There's nothing wrong with these numbers. And even before, with the 19 million, he still was like, you should be getting pregnant with these numbers. So this is just kind of unexplained infertility. There was one test that they did want me to take, and I was like, I don't know if I need that. And it was to see if my fallopian tubes were blocked. And the reason I honestly shut it down and was like, oh, I don't think I want to do it, was when you're going through this process, sadly, insurance doesn't cover a lot of this stuff. So you're paying out of pocket for all of these things. And this test was like an extra $500. So I had never had any problems with, my cycles. I was getting positive ovulation tests. And the doctor was like, you know what, let's pass on it for now. Let's do a couple of IUIs. And if your IUIs don't work, then we can go back and kind of run this test and then go to IVF or, whatever. So, sure. So on the ultrasound, he was like, I'll kind of be able to tell if your fallopian tubes are a little bit inflamed. Everything looked good. So we start the IUI process. We go in for our first IUI, and that's a medicated thing. They're timing your ovulation to almost like to a T. And then they will inseminate you with the sperm. So we go in, everything's looking great. The doctor comes in, and I will never forget the look on his face. It is just this puzzled look of distraught. Like, I don't even know what to tell you guys. My husband's analysis that morning, he only had 200,000 sperm. So he had gone from 43 million to 200,000. We don't know when the drop-off happened, why it happened, what had happened, but that brought our IUI chances of 20% down to like 2. In all reality, we probably just should have canceled it, but you're in the moment, you know, you're already on the table and you're excited. So it's like, well, miracles do happen, so let's try it. Tried it, failed, went in for one more, and I don't even know what kind of changes we made for that, like, you know, 1 month or whatever it was. But maybe tried just changing some eating habits and, you know, whatnot. My husband was still on Clomid at the time and went in for a second IUI, and it was only at 500,000. So we still don't know what had happened to his sperm. So now we're struggling with almost like kind of severe malfactor. And I don't want to say severe because, you know, some people have it way worse than that. But it was like, how did we get here? Mm-hmm. So we do the second IUI and it failed. It was like, all right, with this, like, let's go straight to IVF. We're ready. We're not playing games.
How much does IUI cost?
So our IUIs cost $900, I believe.
I want to put it in perspective only because of that $500 test, because I want them to understand. Yep.
So
that test was $500, just for everyone listening.
Yes.
And so then they did 2 rounds of $900, basically $1,000, 2 of those procedures.
Yes. Yep.
That didn't work.
That did not work. So after that, we are headed straight for IVF. Now we're excited because it's like, I don't want to say I had it was going to be a guarantee in my head. And they had told me going into it, this is not a guarantee. You know, just because you're doing this, it's not a guarantee. But our odds are really good. I was young at the time. I mean, I am young, but I was young at the time. I was still in my 20s. And my husband was still young. We're both in pretty good shape and, you know, whatnot. So we start the process of IVF. Everything's looking good. I still did not do my HSG, the fallopian tube test. We're mid-cycle. And I go in for just a regular checkup ultrasound. I'm already on my meds. I'm stimming at this point. And I had, I think she was a resident or somebody who was, you know, kind of in training. OU was a learning hospital. So she was somebody who was in training, you know, with them. She was doing my ultrasound. There wasn't a doctor in the room, but there was another nurse. And she goes, huh. And I said, what's that mean? And she was like, well, I'm gonna go grab Dr. Hansen really quick, you know, just for a second set of eyes. So he comes in, and these doctors, they are so intelligent and so great, but sometimes they lack emotion, and I think that they have to do that. So he comes in, and he just was very straightforward and was like, okay, you either have like bowels blocked up right here, or this is fluid. And if this is fluid, then that's going to be the problem, because this is probably coming from your fallopian tubes. Looked at my charts, and he's like, I see you haven't done an HSG yet. And I was like, no, at this point I had forgotten about it. So he kind of explains to me he thinks I might have a hydrosalpinx, which is fluid coming from my fallopian tubes. And that fluid is not good. It is toxic to your embryos. It can wipe out your embryos. So we don't want that. So basically he said, we can still go through with your egg retrieval. And when he said that, that's when I knew it was really serious. It had never crossed my mind that it would be canceled or anything. So we can go through with the egg retrieval, but any embryos that we get, we have to freeze. So we can figure out what this is, you know, what's happening with us. So I'm like, okay,
well, what were you feeling at that time when he told you that?
I could not believe it. And I think I was in denial. Like, I was like, no, it's probably just bowels. Like, you know what medication does to you, so I just prayed about it, and I was like, please, God, don't let this, affect where we're at, and don't let it be this. So, in the meantime, we had figured out Charles, he went and saw a urologist through OU who specialized in male infertility, is what it was. And he had told him he was on Clomid too long. So Clomid, it can bring you up, give you great numbers, shoot you down if you're on it too long. And that was what was happening. That was why his sperm was being killed off. So we cut the Clomid at that point. Go in for our first egg retrieval, and we had gotten 12 eggs, which is a good number. I was happy with that. My nurse team was happy with that. Doctor was happy with that. From that 12, I think 8 were mature, and the 8 had fertilized. Oh, no, I'm sorry. 8 were mature, 4 had fertilized. So my numbers quickly dropped. And so I was like, oh my gosh, I was not expecting that. I was expecting all 12 of them to become embryos. I was very, very, very naive my first IVF cycle. So from the 4, we ended up with 1 viable embryo. We did not PGT test to see if it was normal or abnormal. Our doctor said that we didn't need to, really, probably shouldn't, because 1, our ages, and 2, he had seen abnormal embryos kind of turn into normal babies. So we don't want to just wipe out, our 1 chance. The rest were not viable. They were grade level C, and they wouldn't make it through the freeze and thaw process probably. So we had to discard those, which was really hard.
How many was that?
3. Okay. Yeah, we had to discard those.
So you had 1?
Just 1. And we couldn't do a fresh transfer because of what was happening with me. I had already stopped all the meds. I wasn't doing progesterone. So freeze the embryo. I go in for my first HSG, my $500 test. And I'll be damned if my tubes did not flare up like sausages. I had never seen anything like it in my life. So your tubes are supposed to be the size of a wishbone, and mine were the size of bratwurst. They were so big.
Oh my gosh.
So we finished the test, and the PA who did my test was like, okay, this is what it is. They are very dilated, and the doctor will call you probably about surgery. And I was like, surgery? What does that mean? And she said, well, you're probably going to have to get these out. So the doctor calls me later, and he just says, I have never, ever seen tubes like this, especially in a 30-year-old. They are definitely blocked. This is why you're not getting pregnant. This is why you haven't gotten pregnant. And that to me was a shot to the heart, because, it's a team effort. Going through this is a team thing, and it shouldn't be looked at one person or the other, or it's him, it's her, it's both of you. This is both of you. But for me in that moment, I was like, it's me. It's me. I'm the problem. This is, my body. And that was really, really, really hard to hear. And I was hoping he would be able to, get in there and kind of clean him out and fix it. But before surgery, he had told me, he said, I'm going to do what I can to, save your tubes. And if I can save them, great. But if not, I'm going to have to take them. And I just want you to plan on me taking your tubes out. And I said, okay. In my head the whole time, I'm like, I have this 1 embryo. I am doing this.
That's our baby.
That's our baby. I'm doing this for our future baby. I'm doing this for my husband, for myself. And if I have this fluid in my body, that is, toxic to my uterus and my babies. I don't want that in there anyways. I think my surgery was supposed to take about an hour, and I think I was under for 2.5 hours. Basically, when they got in there, my doctor was shocked at what he saw. I had scar tissue, covering everything. And there was absolutely no saving my tubes. One of my fallopian tubes was, wrapped around my left ovary. And the only reason he didn't take my ovary was because he knew I wanted more children. And he cut out as much scar tissue as he could. But yes, the tubes had to go. So after my surgery, I woke up and he kind of explained everything to me, and I saw the pictures for myself, and I just was like, oh my gosh. I mean, I couldn't believe it.
How did that affect your view on yourself as a woman, to lose your reproductive organs, part of them?
Oh, that was hard. And I don't think I fully processed until months later, honestly, because I was so focused on that embryo and getting pregnant that when that transfer failed, I then realized, oh shoot, this is our only way of getting pregnant, and the doctor had told me prior, IVF is going to be your only way. But then I was like, I am 30 years old and I am sterile. I can't do anymore what God made me to do. And it was so easy with my daughter. I was that person that I now kind of roll my eyes at. I got pregnant on accident, wasn't trying. And so I was sad for myself, and I became mad at my body. And that is something that I don't want to say I'm ashamed of, but I was mad because
The living room is where you make life's most beautiful memories. But your sofa shouldn't be the one remembering them. The new life-resistant, high-performance furniture collection from Ashley is designed to withstand all the spills, slip-ups, and muddy paws that come with the best parts of life. Ashley high-performance sofas and recliners are soft, on-trend, and easy to clean. Shop the high-performance furniture in-store or online at ashley.com. Ashley, for the love of home.
I'm like, how did I not know? And there was no warning. I was not in any pain. It was just like somebody ripped the carpet from underneath me. So that was really hard. I struggled with that for a long time.
Did you struggle with the fact that you didn't do the test, or that the doctor didn't push you to do the test? Was that, because we've talked about that, you and me, so how do you feel about that now, maybe?
Okay, so I felt like when we were first discovering, this fluid that was happening, I felt like the doctors were like, well, you turned this test down, right? You said you didn't want to do this test. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, I did. This is my fault. I should have done the test, da-da-da-da-da. And then later, I kind of processed, and I was like, you're my doctor. You tell me what I need to do, So for everybody out there, for every woman going through this, do the test. Spend the $500, do your HSG. It will save you so much time and worry and heartache in the future.
And maybe even money.
And money.
You didn't need to spend money on those other procedures and put yourself through all of that.
We probably, whereas I'm grateful for our first cycle of IVF, I am. Learned a lot, whatnot, but we spent a lot of money, in the 20,000s on that cycle. Had we had done the HSG, we would have known, oh, hey, your tubes are blocked, let's do this, and then done a cycle after that. Mm-hmm. So we could have saved so much money. So yeah, I do feel like doctors going into this with patients, that's just a must-have. That's just a must-do, is you have to do this test.
All the diagnostics first.
All of it. Yep.
Yes, on both parties.
Yep.
do all the
absolutely.
diagnostics so you know what you're dealing with.
Yes.
When you do go in and try and do IVF or something else, you know what hurdles you have to jump.
Right. And I am not a doctor, obviously. So if somebody's just absolutely refusing, there's nothing you can do about that. But I definitely think it's important for them to kind of push it on them and say, hey, it's necessary.
Where do things stand today?
Okay. So today, since we had done another cycle, so we've been through 2 IUIs, 2 IVF cycles. Our second cycle was better, I would say. We again got 12 eggs. Out of those, 10 were mature, and 8 had fertilized. 7 of those became blastocysts. However, only 1 was of good quality. Our first good quality embryo with the first cycle was a 4 BB, and this one was a 3 BB. So the first time I had to do that frozen transfer, the second time I was able to do a fresh transfer. So right after your retrieval, you start your meds for progesterone to prep your body to be pregnant. And so we went in, and we didn't know if we had any embryos or not. They don't tell you until day 5. That's when we went in. So we go in, and he's like, all right, we got a good one. We're transferring, and you're so excited, right? You're about to be pregnant. And I said, okay, so how are the other, 6 or 7 doing? And he's like, well, they're still growing. They're still progressing. We're going to give it 1 or 2 more days. So we do the transfer, go home, you rest, you hang out, you chill, get a call the next day. They all stopped growing. So from there, we were right back in the same, moment. Yes, we're back to square one. If this doesn't work, we're out, Unfortunately, that transfer did not work either. So then we were like, blown away. When you don't have your fallopian tubes, that's actually why a lot of women do IVF, whether they have a blocked tube or 1 tube. Even if their tubes are working and they can't get pregnant, IVF is a great option because you go around the tubes. You don't need them. So you go with your egg retrieval, they go in and retrieve the eggs from your ovaries and combine, egg and sperm, which hopefully will fertilize, turn into an embryo. They then take that embryo and insert it into your uterus right where it should implant, like that perfect little spot, and it will either implant or it won't. So really, you don't need your tubes. Yeah, this is tough. I just want to give a shout out to all the nurses first, because the nurses were like my hype squad, and anything that I was worried about, they really talked to me off the ledge, and they were really honest with me. And if I cried, they cried. If I was like on cloud 9, they were on cloud 9. The nurses are great. So be kind to your nurses. But the doctors are also great, and they're very intelligent and wonderful and great with their jobs. I think it's a matter of really finding the right doctor for you and somebody who's going to listen to you and see you. Our first doctor with our first 2 cycles, he was wonderful. He really was. Towards the end, I think that we all 3 of us, my husband and I and our doctor, got to this point where we're like, we don't know what to do. And I kind of felt like if we just kept doing the same thing over and over and over, it was going to be insanity. Like we were going to keep getting the same results of this cycle. When we had a consultation with him a few months back, so we took a big break, right? And then we had a consultation with him just to see like, hey, if we do a 3rd cycle, what's that look like for us? In fact, he had even taken our cases, like our 2 IVF cases, to this board of doctors and embryologists. And it took months, to hear back from that. But they all thought that it was maybe like a DNA fragmentation in my husband's sperm, and maybe we should change some things in the lab and things like that. So we had all these options, but my husband's DNA fragmentation test came back all clear. So it's like we are just in this limbo of we cannot figure out like the root of why we can make embryos, we're not making good ones. And so my husband and I left that day, and I was really hoping we would put down a deposit for a third round, but we just did not feel confident. We didn't feel comfortable. Kind of just left with no answers, right? So my friend guided me to CCRM in Colorado. And I emailed them, got in touch with, scheduling person. They set me up with a virtual consultation with Dr. Suri. And we had a virtual consultation, and my heart was like guiding me towards that. I just felt like God was like, this is kind of where you're meant to be. He listened to us and had, all of these suggestions and things I had never heard, and very honest with us. Mm-hmm. So I do feel like, it's kind of just, sometimes you just kind of have to switch.
Yeah, it's all about like the feeling you get from them, whether they're engaged with you. And, sometimes the doctors give up hope on your situation too.
I almost felt like, I'm sure he did not feel this way. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I almost felt like he was maybe sick of us, kind of, and I don't know. We weren't connecting in that moment. And we just had our one-day workup at CCRM. We went to Colorado, had a one-day workup. They make all of their clients do that. You want to go here? This is what you have to do. Love that. This place is like an oil well. Like, it's just in and out. It runs so smooth. So we went there. We met with, our nurse team. I had an ultrasound. My husband did his analysis. We met with the genetics team, the financial team. We met with the doctor. And it was just this whole day of tests, lab work. But it ran so smooth. Everybody, they look you in the eyes. They ask you really hard but deep questions. They want to know your family history, your family tree. What's your life like? Tell me your day to day. It's just, it's so different. And I don't even know how to explain it. We just have so much confidence in them. And when we sat down with the doctor, one thing that was different from our last clinic was they handed each of us, a list of supplements. And we're like, you don't have to take these, but these are great for you and you, for your egg quality, for your sperm quality. Mm-hmm. They let us know that day that my husband's analysis came back abnormal again, which we were expecting. He hasn't been on any medication. Nothing's really changed. But the doctor was like, hey, I'm going to put him back on Clomid. They prescribed me some supplements, from a pharmacy that he's like, we've had great results with this. I'm going to put you on this. And at this moment in time, we still don't know what the cause is, but I feel like everything is working out how it should. Like, we're being led in the right direction, and all of the timing is kind of working out perfectly.
How did you choose to tell people in your life about your journey, and how did you come to that decision to let people in or not?
Oh man. Okay, so I'm a hairdresser, and one of my core values is connection. Like, I love connecting with people, and a lot of my clients I've had for several years, and they've been with me through marriage, and they kind of knew hey, we're going to start trying right away. We want a big family, this and that. So when all of this was happening, it was a lot of them were kind of along the ride with me, and not only them, but our friends, think about your best friends. Vent to my girls all the time, my sisters and whatnot. So the first cycle, you're really excited. I was so pumped. I was so excited. This is gonna work. I told everybody. I was telling the whole world. Screaming it from the top of a building. Now, I don't necessarily regret telling the people that I told. Because those people they're in my circle. They are. The hard part is when it doesn't work And then you have to go back and retell that over and over and over again. And it's like just reopening a wound every time. Ironically enough, the people that we didn't tell the first time was our family, because we still wanted that element of surprise. Like, we still wanted to, like, you know, be able to surprise them. I was still hoping for the Christmas, you know, surprise announcement in my head. And all of this is so planned and there's no surprise to it, that I was like, I'm saving that for them. But after this, you know, during the second cycle, after the second cycle, I was like not in a good spot mentally. And I wanted my family to know at that point. I wanted them to know. And I wanted a lot of other people to know too, for sure. One, so people would stop asking me, like, are you pregnant yet? You know, are you guys still trying? When are you going to have a baby? So then I'm like, okay, well, if they know, then they'll hopefully stop asking. Mm-hmm. So we told our family, and I'll never forget calling my dad. My dad is, you know, one of my best friends, but God bless Rob Taylor. He just still doesn't really know how to work an iPhone. So his knowledge of like the fertility world is zero. So I remember calling him after a second transfer failed, and I just was like, this is where we're at. This is, you know, what's going on. This is what I've been through. He had no idea about my surgery. He had no idea anything, you know. So that was a hard conversation. And letting our families know was hard. And of course, you know, they're sad for you. They want this for you.
They want it for themselves.
Yeah, they want absolutely. 100%. Right. Yeah. And as this time's going on, you know, my daughter's getting older. So it's hard.
How did your relationship or how was your relationship impacted by this?
So I can now say that our marriage is a lot stronger. In the end, I think that we have come out on top, and we will still come out on top, even if this doesn't work out for us. I feel like something this hard it can tear you apart, or it can bring you together. And for a while, it did tear us apart. When you're going through the trenches like that, I mean, you have got to like pull each other, you know, through it, and not bring each other like lower and lower, and you know what, things like that. But we ended up seeing a marriage counselor, and that has been just life-changing for us. It has changed the entire dynamic of our marriage. And not only that, it has allowed my husband to figure out some things, you know, about himself. And we see each other's perspectives now. And even when we can't see each other's perspectives, we know how to handle those moments. So definitely it has helped our relationship.
And therapy gave you those tools,
yeah,
to know when XYZ happens.
Absolutely,
emotions arise, here's what we need to do with them.
Well, when we, like I told you, when we first got together and dating and whatnot, we were just so head over heels and in love, and everything was just bubbly and fun and great. You do not expect to walk into something like that so early on in marriage. And then we were trying right away. So I feel like it's not that we haven't gotten to enjoy our marriage, because we have enjoyed our marriage, but we haven't really gotten to fully embrace it, because our whole almost 4 years of marriage have been wrapped around starting a family. So we plan on like having like 2 toddlers running around at this point, you know, but we're still trying to get there.
So it's just a little storm cloud hanging out, and you're just like, this needs to get out. But
truly,
from what I've seen as your friend, I feel like this Colorado like feels like a fresh start, where you're not letting it be a storm cloud.
Yeah,
like
definitely.
You're hopeful.
Yep.
But you're also like okay either way, and so you're kind of like letting it be what it is and releasing some of that control. How has that felt?
Yeah, oh man. So going through all of this, you know, the first cycle, didn't really know what I was doing, whatever, super naive. Second cycle, I was so like headstrong, like this has to happen. I'm going to take every supplement. I'm going to do everything I can to the book. I read this book, you know, which I'm not going to say I regret it. It gave me a lot of knowledge, but I was like, if I don't do everything right, you know, this isn't going to work. So I did everything that I could and it still didn't work, you know? So this time around, I have finally come to this moment, you know, Annie, I was home alone this one weekend. My husband was gone. Peyton was with her dad. And my favorite Friday night ritual is to like take a bath and like, you know, have some incense and candles lit and just like really just self-soothe. So I had taken a bath and I had a glass of wine and I was really, really just thinking about, you know, our cycles and where we're at and where we're going. And the Colorado thing was new at this point. And I sat on my counter in my sink and I had a really, really hard talk with myself. And I just said, Brit, you have got to stop comparing yourself. Like, your journey is so different. And you've got to realize probably everybody that you love, all of your best friends, your family, you know, your friends' moms, and maybe even grandma, they will probably be pregnant before you. Like, stop comparing yourself to them. Your journey is special, you know. And I just really had that talk with myself, just in the mirror, looking at myself. And since then, I have really been able to embrace what we're going through and move forward with my head high and not just like constantly having my head hung and feeling like so defeated and depleted, you know, mentally and physically, and moving into this with more positivity. And of course, you know, you're always like manifesting, like, I'm going to be pregnant, you know, soon. This is going to happen. It's going to happen. And I'm learning to just be open for whatever God and the universe have in store for me.
The living room is where you make life's most beautiful memories. But your sofa shouldn't be the one remembering them. The new life-resistant, high-performance furniture collection from Ashley is designed to withstand all the spills, slip-ups, and muddy paws that come with the best parts of life. Ashley high-performance sofas and recliners are soft, on-trend, and easy to clean. Shop the high-performance furniture in-store or online at ashley.com. Ashley, for the love of home.
Whether that's a baby or not, I am so grateful for what we have already. You know, Peyton's the best thing I've ever done. And if she is the only child that I ever get, I am so grateful for that. Like, and I'm so thankful that my husband he takes her in as his own, and loves her unconditionally. And he has even told me, you know, I am so content and happy with our lives. Like, this doesn't have to happen. If this is too much for you, let's stop, you know. Of course he wants a baby, but he is so happy with just the dog and Peyton and our marriage and the house, and we have a great life. So I need to stop putting so much pressure on, this has to happen. Like, we have to do this, because we don't.
There does come that point where positivity turns toxic, as they say.
Yes.
Where it's like, you're so positive that it's like, when something negative happens, you like can't let yourself absorb it. Yeah. And it's like, okay,
totally.
No matter what comes at you, it's gonna be okay. Because you do have this beautiful life.
Yeah.
So what was the hardest component of all of this for you? The hardest moment, the hardest piece, like, that just stands out in your mind is like, this was so hard. The whole thing is hard.
Yeah. The funny part is, everybody, when they hear that you're going through IVF and they, you know what it is, they're like, oh my gosh, you have to do all those shots. Like, you have to stick yourself with a needle and da-da-da. That's nothing. You know, I'm not saying that it's not hard to stick yourself with a needle, but the mental toll and emotional toll that it takes on you, this journey is not for like a faint heart. It is so hard. And so honestly, I just think the hardest part for me was, I don't know, all of it. The expectations that I set on
mental.
Yes, the expectations I set on the cycles, the expectations I set on myself, the expectations I set on my husband, and, you know, where we would be now. And that's been really hard.
Letting go of kind of like the dream.
Yeah,
the picture
totally.
you had in
It's
your head.
not having control. That's the hardest part. Having it out of my control. Having these expectations, I don't know how to get there, you know?
It's in God's hands.
Absolutely.
Okay. Did anyone along this journey say anything hurtful that has stuck with you? And I only ask this to help people understand what kind of comments might be unhelpful and why.
Yes, I have had a few unfortunate kind of run-ins to where you just have to tell yourself, let it slide, like let it roll off your back. You know, for some people, it is a religious thing. And I had somebody tell me once, basically, if God wants us to have a baby, then we will have a baby. And I'm like, okay, sure. In a sense, I can absolutely see that. You know, the doctors can do all that they can do. They can put all their love and wisdom into this. And if it's not supposed to happen, it won't happen. But they were kind of taking it from a religious stance and saying, like, basically what we were doing was not, you know, God closed that door for me, is what they were saying. And I've had somebody come up to me and literally pat my belly and say, do you have the baby in there yet?
Oh my God.
And all of the comments of, you know, just relax. Like, guys, when you're going through this, you do everything. You have all of the sex all the time. You'll stand on your head. You will do anything to make it work. So yeah.
So
things like that are not helpful.
That everybody going through this has tried relaxing.
Yep.
They've tried, you know, all the different, anything you can think of, they've already tried it.
It has really opened my eyes to how I speak to people. Never, ever, I don't care if somebody is 9 months pregnant. I will never ask somebody if they are pregnant or, you know, when are you due? You know, things like that. It's just, let's just take that off of the table, you know?
Yeah, and I've had to rein myself in on that a bunch of times in a bunch of different directions too, like asking people if they want kids.
Right.
I've had to learn not to do that because I'm so curious, you know, from a genuine place, but they could be going through this and not talking about
well,
it.
That's the thing. Most people, you know, when you get to know somebody, it's, are you married? Do you guys have kids? You know, those are the first things that you ask. So you just never know what somebody else is going through. And if somebody wants you to know, they will kind of hint their way there, you know, like, yeah, we hope to have kids one day, or, you know, we don't want any children.
That's such a good point.
Yeah.
They will let you know.
Yeah.
You don't need to ask to find out.
Right. There's so much more to get out of people, like so much more to know about like their heart and their life and other things besides, you know, you want kids?
Yeah. It's just such a standard question.
Totally.
It's like, you know, it's people's like backup plan when this
Absolutely.
conversation stalls.
Right.
So how can people best support a friend or family member who's struggling with infertility?
That's a good one. Some of the most kind things that I have had, honestly, are just little handwritten notes from people that are like, I am praying for you. You are so strong. You know, I'm here for you however you need, whenever you need, however I can be there. Our families, you know, shout out to them. They're the real MVPs. They have been there for us in every which way. I can't tell you how many times my sister-in-law has like just cried on the closet floor with me and just been there. And I think just telling them and letting them know we're here. You don't even have to tell us what's going on or what you're going through, where you're at in the process, but we are here. You know, we see you, and whatever you need, you know, and the prayers constantly, you know, are helping. Yeah.
Okay. And then what advice do you have for women who are going through this experience right now?
My best advice, one, for sure, keep your heart and your mind strong. This journey is so heavy, and your entire life is on pause. Like, that is how I have felt for 4 years now, is my life is just in this pause moment. And everybody around you is like moving forward. It's like you're in a standstill, you know? So while your life is on pause, take care of yourself, mentally and emotionally first, because if you don't take care of yourself, you're not going to be able to fully be present in these moments and fully grieve and fully jump with joy when the good things do happen, because exciting things do happen when they call you and say, hey, you have 8 embryos, you know, or your IUI, you got a positive pregnancy test, or, you know, just things like that. Like when your, you know, tests come back normal. So you want to feel those moments. So you have to take care of yourself. Get into therapy. I should truly, honestly pay my therapist more. She has helped me so much. So we have a marriage counselor, and then I have my own personal therapist. And they just keep us and myself on the straight and narrow. And they give us the tools that we need to cope. And when I'm having a day or a moment, or we can pull those tools out of our box and say, this is what we need to do. I need to take 4 deep breaths. I need to journal. I need to mind map. I need to go for a drive with the windows down. I need to, you know, whatever you need to do. But definitely therapy, and create healthy boundaries for yourself. If that means no baby showers, no baby showers. If that means get off social media, get off social media. That was one of the best things I did for myself. During our second cycle, I took a whole year off social media. I didn't care what anybody was doing. I wasn't comparing myself. I was reading more books. Who knew I was a book reader, you know? So just things like that. And still put yourself first, put your marriage first, love on your partner, you know, and be grateful for what you do have. What I would say to Brittany, who was so low and so sad and truly so angry with her body and at times with God, you know, I questioned God a lot. Like, did I do something wrong? Did I like mess up raising Peyton somehow? Was I not good enough? If I could just grab her and hug her and just say, you are worth it. Like, do not wrap your self-worth up in this. You know, that should come first. That's a part of taking care of yourself, is don't wrap your self-worth up in this, because you are worth so much more, and God has so much more in store for you. Feel this sadness, feel this anger, and feel it. But you're going to walk out of here and you're going to hold your head high. Don't wrap your self-worth up in this, because you're so much more. You're so much more. This is just a tiny glimpse in time. And it's not over. Okay, so I actually talk to baby Sims all the time. And I think it's just maybe a part of like some of like the praying. And I just want to say to baby Sims, or all of the future baby Sims, we love you so much, and truly believe you are sent, straight from God into our arms. We've worked so hard and for so long and prayed, until our knees were busted for you. That you're meant to be here. And I've dreamt of you, and I've held you in my dreams, and I cannot wait to just hold you in my arms. So we're coming for you. We're coming, Sims. Get ready. All right. We good? That's a wrap. Oh my God. I know I need to hug you. So many times I was fighting the urge. I predicted that I would end up hugging you, but I'm glad, we saved it for the end. I love you so much. I'm so proud of you.
Well, guys, I recorded that episode last year around this time. I think August of last year. Maybe I'm guesstimating. But Brittany is now several months pregnant. The treatment in Colorado worked, and she can use all the prayers. Their family can use all the prayers in getting across the finish line and holding their baby in their arms. But it was just so meaningful to have captured her message to baby Sims, and that we are putting this out into the world at a time when she's currently housing baby Sims in her body. And I think this is just such a beautiful conclusion to this first episode. I hope you guys will continue to listen and tune in to our future episodes. We have 2 more. The next one is Lindsay, which is dropping on August 8th. And then Aaron's is going to be dropping 8/22, which is National Rainbow Baby Day. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. And if you want, you can watch this same episode on YouTube and watch Brit, in a video form if you'd like to. But thank you guys again for tuning in. And until next time, that is the news du jour. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe on whatever podcast platform you use to listen. A rate and review on that platform or a shout out on social media would mean the world to us and help us to be able to keep creating the news du jour and reach more people who need a calmer space to consume the news. But the best way to support all of our work is to become a patron at www.patreon.com/sugarfree media, and that is also linked in our show notes. You can follow us on social media at newsdujour.podcast on both Instagram and TikTok. You can follow my personal account at It's Annie Bowles on both platforms as well. Any little noises you may hear in the background are my rescue pup. He has a little separation anxiety and always records with me. We appreciate you listening and look forward to telling you about the news again next time on News du Jour.
Broadcasting from
The living room is where you make life's most beautiful memories. But your sofa shouldn't be the one remembering them. The new life-resistant, high-performance furniture collection from Ashley is designed to withstand all the spills, slip-ups, and muddy paws that come with the best parts of life. Ashley high-performance sofas and recliners are soft, on-trend, and easy to clean. Shop the high-performance furniture in-store or online at ashley.com. Ashley, for the love of home.